And welcome to Broncos country. The new ownership team opens a new chapter for the franchise.
This is a great tradition, a great heritage of winning. But the goal now.
Yes, Dr. Condoleezza Rice, former Secretary of State, one of a high-profile cast there, owning the Broncos now as, well, I was going to say that was in Power Field, but that was not in Power Field.
No, yeah.
The Broncos will be at Power Field,
yeah.
this weekend, and we've had a Broncos sunrise this morning.
It was beautiful, yeah, a little blue and orange in the sky early on. Now we're looking at clear skies. The mountains will see a little buildup of cloud cover here this afternoon. 70s though right now in town, so heating up at the bus stop early on. It's upper 60s to low 70s. Next week it's going to be quite a bit cooler for those kids heading back on Monday. We'll take a closer look at that in just a few minutes, but today hot and dry. 98 for a high in Denver today. 70s and 80s expected in the mountains. Evergreen, you're at 86. Boulder, 95. Estes Park, 81. So pretty toasty. When you look at our 10-day forecast, though, for temperatures, we're going to be under some cooler than average conditions, and you'll see that start on our Super 7-day. I'll show you that coming up here in just a few minutes.
A couple of problems out in Aurora right now where we have a crash on the southbound side of I-225 right after Colfax. We also have one out here on 6th Avenue, right there at Sable, right over Tollgate Creek, and it's causing, well, this was a car fire causing a big mess still on 6th Avenue. Let me show you the camera over on 225 just south of Colfax, where you can see traffic starting to ease up as we have lanes now open on that southbound side. The northbound side looks okay through there as well, but as you take a look at the overall map, I would suggest using either Mississippi is the fastest to get over to I-225. Alameda and Colfax are still a little busy trying to get over there from that car fire that we've had over by Sable, so they're still mopping that one up and still busy for us down on that south side of town as well. So you're still going to find some stop and go traffic, unfortunately, for your morning drive as you make your way out and about.
Well, new this morning, another economic report shows inflation is getting better. The producer price index fell 0.5% from June. That's the amount companies pay to create the things we buy. July's producer inflation rate of 9.8% is the lowest since January.
Also new this morning, a new snapshot of just how well Colorado's economy is doing compared to other states. CU Boulder's Leeds School of Business compiled the second quarter report. Our state added 104,000 jobs in 2022 so far, and our labor participation is the second highest in the country.
Colorado also ranks above average in key performance indicators like GDP, income, and home price growth. But experts warn that there are risks already impacting our nation's economy that could impact us locally as well, like the inflation rate, labor, and trade.
Yeah, it's hard to predict the future of the economy here, but economists are certainly trying. Gas prices are falling right now. And cheaper diesel, they say, will eventually mean cheaper shipping and eventually cheaper food.
Economic experts also say it's too soon to know if we've fully turned a corner.
It's not going to be a straight line, I'm sure. There's going to be ups and downs and all arounds, and there's going to be disappointments. But I do think we're going to feel a lot better about inflation, a year from now.
Even though we got this cooling, ongoing pressures on food prices.
The U.S. isn't there yet. Food prices went up between June and July, and overall prices are still much higher than they were a year ago.
Today, Aurora's City Council will hear a proposal to replace ketamine with a different drug. First responders used that powerful sedative on Elijah McClain before he died in 2019.
Want to bring in Denver 7's Jessica Crawford because ketamine is now banned since Elijah's death, but the city is now looking at an alternative.
That's right. Aurora is considering a sedative called droperidol, and it's not new. It's actually something that's been used in multiple jurisdictions, even in Denver EMS, and it's an antipsychotic. It's a rapid sedative used in intensive care treatment and where agitation, aggression, or violent behavior are present. Aurora City Council is discussing the use of that drug today as an alternative to ketamine. In 2020, Aurora City Council banned the city's emergency responders from using ketamine during an independent investigation into the death of Elijah McClain. It showed paramedics improperly evaluated McClain's condition before injecting him, and they incorrectly estimated his weight. Medics gave him 500 milligrams of the drug. That's a dose recommended for a 200-pound person, but McClain weighed just 143 pounds. He then went into cardiac arrest before dying in the hospital a few days later. Aurora City Council agenda says that the city is contemplating the use of droperidol as a sedative because it, number one, can be difficult for emergency responders to transport and help patients if they're violent or agitated, and two, it helps EMS providers safely determine the kind of care that a patient needs. Droperidol, though, is not without side effects. Doctors say that they do have to be aware of heart complications. And so that means, like ketamine, it's very important that people who administer the droperidol are very careful about making sure that the person is of the correct weight for that dosage. Live in Aurora, I'm Jessica Crawford, Denver 7.
Well, it's back to school today for thousands of kids in Thornton, Brighton, Commerce City, Greeley, Evans, and other cities. The 27J School District is opening a new school today in Commerce City. It's called South Lawn Elementary School. Phase 1 has room for 400 students, and it's opening today. Phase 2 is still under construction, but should be finished by the end of September. The school will include art and music rooms, new playgrounds, and a synthetic turf field. Also new today is a West Greeley school, a new pre-K to 8 school called Toyington Academy of Pre-Engineering. And students at Greeley West High School will be in new classrooms today because the school was entirely rebuilt. You will still see some fencing and construction as workers get the asbestos out in the old school building before demolition. Many of those kids should be able to take the bus to school, but staff shortages are forcing them to find another ride. Denver 7's Veronica Costa joins us. And Veronica, you talked to one school district making every effort to find drivers.
That's exactly what 27J is doing. It's a big day for them, right? They finally go back to school. We just saw about a dozen or so little ones right around the corner from where we are get picked up by that school bus to be taken over to their elementary school. And I spoke to one of those moms who told me it's not her elementary age daughter's route that's in trouble. Instead, her middle school age son, who was waitlisted all of last year. She gave the district a call just a few days ago, and they actually told her his route had been canceled. So now they have two options there. He can either ride his bike to school or she's going to have to drop him off. But really, that wait list, it is a case that a lot of parents are dealing with within the school district. We've spoken about how other school districts offer $1,000 signing bonuses, even competitive wages. But at 27J, unfortunately, that's just not a possibility right now.
Unfortunately, we can't compete, and that's because we just don't have the funding that's needed.
Officials at 27J say in order to be considered fully staffed in their bus driver department, they need at least another 20 drivers, and that's a mix of those with CDL driver's licenses and non-CDL driver's licenses. The school district had similar issues last year. They actually tried canceling as little routes as possible. They ended up pulling anyone with that proper license to drive one of their routes. It's something those district officials say they're probably going to have to do again this year.
We have a number of people in our transportation department in addition to school bus drivers. We have mechanics, we have schedulers, we have office clerical staff. And on days when we are really short, those people put their tools away and they grab a bus route and they drive those routes.
And school busing is really a hot topic right now, so much so that Colorado recently passed funding $65 million for an electric bus program, and that would be in terms of a grant. Meanwhile, the federal government also offering a $500 million in rebates for districts that go ahead and buy some of these electric buses. So definitely looking for alternatives to try and get students to school as soon as possible. As far as that federal program goes, you would have to apply for it if you are a school district. Those applications, they're open all the way through next Friday. We're in Thornton this morning. I'm Veronica Costa, Denver 7.
A reminder to double check your mailbox for the state income tax refund check, which is your payback because the state collected too much money last year. One way to know when that money is arriving is called informed delivery. That's a service from the U.S. Postal Service that lets you see your incoming mail before it arrives. It is free. You can learn more at USPS.com. Today is your last day to see the Broncos at Open Training Camp. It's going to be a big one, too. This is the joint practice with the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, and today's practice is a little later than normal, from 11 to 1. Gates open at 10. The two teams will be playing their first preseason game this Saturday at Empower Field.
But yesterday marked an historic moment for Broncos country and really the entire NFL. The Broncos' new owners introduced themselves. Here they are, everyone except for Lewis Hamilton, who is in his Formula One season right now. But Melody Hobson and Dr. Condoleezza Rice became the league's first two black female owners.
And we got an idea of how they're going to run things. Greg Penner, who is the son-in-law of Rob Walton, will be the CEO. One of his first priorities will be to hire a team president to help with the day-to-day decisions. There will be no formal board of directors, and former CEO Joe Ellis will help the new owners in an advisory role this season.
The new owners also spoke to the players before practice yesterday to kind of share their new vision for the team. Safety Justin Simmons says he was impressed and appreciates the diversity.
What an inspiration, you know, I think for so many people. I mean, there's little girls out here whose dad plays on the team, and when they can look up, you know, ownership of the Broncos, they can see someone that looks just like them.
So our Denver 7 sports team will have the latest from training camp tonight over on Denver 7 News.
Genuinely think buyers are in a better position today than they were back in February.
Well, the metro housing market is being called one of the most vulnerable in the country. Despite the challenges, there are some positive points if you're looking for a new place, including why you may not need as much cash up front.
Also, what the EPA says about harmful chemicals coming from a facility in Lakewood.